I was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring blankly at the wall. I couldn't wrap my head around it. My wife, my Joanna, the love of my life, was gone. For a woman. She left me for her friend Kate. How long had this been going on? Why didn't I notice anything? This morning, she just packed a suitcase, hugged me goodbye, and said, "I'm sorry, Brad. This will be better for both of us. I have to be honest with myself." And that was it. She disappeared out the door, leaving me alone with a broken heart and a million questions. At least we didn't have children. I can't imagine how hard it would be for them to find out that Mommy preferred another mommy. Ugh, I don't even want to think about it. I'd better focus on how to live on now, alone, in an empty house full of her things and our shared history. I was distracted from my sad thoughts by the doorbell. Who else came over? With a sad smirk, I trudged to open the door. Karen, my mother-in-law and Joanna's mother, was standing on the doorstep. She looked worried. "Brad, honey, how are you? I just found out. Joanna called me this morning, said she left you for her... that," Karen stammered, clearly not knowing what to call the homewrecker. "Anyway, she left you. The fool. What can you expect?" "Hi, Karen. Yeah, it's been quite a morning. Come in. Don't stand in the doorway." My mother-in-law came in and started looking around as if expecting to see my dead body on the floor. Noticing her look, I smiled sadly. "Don't worry, I'm not going to hang myself. Although I have to admit, the thought crossed my mind. Just kidding, just kidding," I hastened to add, seeing the horror in her eyes. "Oh, Brad, forgive that fool. I don't know what came over her. I have nothing against lesbians, but leaving a husband like you is the height of idiocy." I snorted. Damn, it's nice to be complimented by your mother-in-law, even in a situation like this. "Okay, Karen, let's move on. What's done is done. Thanks for coming. It really means a lot to me. Want some tea?" "Tea? No way, son-in-law. Get out a bottle of something stronger. You could use it right now, and frankly, so could I." With those words, Karen resolutely headed for the kitchen. And I suddenly thought that maybe things weren't so bad. At least I wasn't totally alone. And it looks like my mother-in-law and I are getting drunk today. The next few days blurred into one endless Groundhog Day. I woke up with a sore head, somehow dragged myself to work, then came back to an empty house and drowned my sorrows in alcohol. Karen came over almost every night, brought food, helped with the cleaning, and generally played the role of a caring mother hen. I have to give her credit. I didn't fall into a depression, although it's not like I made much progress in accepting the new reality. One day we were sitting in the kitchen, sipping wine and lazily bickering about who should do the dishes. Suddenly I looked at Karen with new eyes. I hadn't noticed before, but she was a damn attractive woman. Slim, fit, with a lush mane of dark hair that barely had a touch of gray. How old was she, I wonder? 50? I'll have to ask sometime, tactfully. "Brad, why are you staring at me like that? Do I have salad stuck in my teeth?" Karen smirked, catching my gaze. No, I was just thinking, listen, I barely know anything about you. Well, except that you're the mother of my cheating wife, and you love broccoli. Tell me about yourself, why don't you?" Karen raised an eyebrow in surprise, but nodded and took a sip of wine. "Well, if you want, what are you interested in? My dark past or present? I should warn you, there are skeletons in both." "Oh, I'm all ears." I leaned forward in anticipation. Finally, at least some entertainment in this kingdom of decay and dreariness. Over the next couple of hours, Karen told me about her childhood in Jersey, her college years, her turbulent youth in New York, her job at a gallery, and finally, her divorce from Joanna's father. I listened with bated breath. Turns out my mother-in-law had a full and interesting life. Not like me, And now I'm thinking, why the hell did I waste my best years on that jerk? Karen sighed, finishing her wine. I stayed at home, raised Joanna, watched my figure, and waited for my husband to come home from work. And he, the bastard, was cheating on me the whole time. Can you imagine, with my best friend? Like a cheap melodrama, for God's sake. She laughed mirthlessly and looked at me. Her eyes were filled with sadness mixed with defiance. I was a little taken aback. It seems that my mother-in-law and I have more in common than it seemed at first glance. I'm sorry, Karen, that sucks. But you know, you're an amazing woman. Smart, beautiful, with a sense of humor. I'm sure you'll meet a worthy man. Thanks, Brad. It's nice to hear that. Although compliments from a son-in-law sound a bit strange, she snorted. Hey, I'll have you know I'm free as a bird now, so I can compliment whoever I want, even my ex-mother-in-law. Karen laughed and playfully winked at me. I felt the blood rush to my cheeks. Okay, I think it's time to cut back on the wine, or the conversation is taking too intimate a turn. I didn't even notice how Karen and I became almost inseparable. Joint dinners turned into bar hopping and then into something more. One time we stayed up late at my place, emptying bottle after bottle and telling tales from the past. At some point, Karen got unallowably close. I smelled her perfume and the haze of alcohol. And that's it, a blackout. I woke up in the morning in my bed, alone, with a terrible headache and in complete shock at what had happened. We slept together. Oh my God, I slept with my mother-in-law. I mean, ex-mother-in-law. But that's not the point. Okay, calm down, Brad. Maybe you dreamed it. Well, or imagined it while drunk. After all, it simply can't be. My panicked thoughts were interrupted by the phone ringing. Of course, it was Karen calling. I swallowed nervously and picked up the phone. "Good morning, Casanova. How did you sleep?" my mother-in-law cheerfully inquired. What a bummer. And here I was, hoping she didn't remember anything either. Hi, Karen. Listen, about last night, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I guess I had too much to drink and... Anyway, it won't happen again. Silence hung on the other end. Then Karen sighed. Brad, relax. I'm flattered by your morning panic, of course, but I assure you, my virtue is intact. Well, mostly, although you were pretty good. I almost dropped the phone. What? How? Did we really? Don't traumatize your delicate psyche, son-in-law, Karen laughed, apparently sensing my shock. It was all quite innocent. Well, almost. We made out a little and you fell asleep. You snore like a hippo, by the way. I hope it's not hereditary or I feel sorry for Joanna. Thank God, I exhaled. A weight off my shoulders, honestly. Although somewhere deep down, a strange feeling stirred. Disappointment? But you know, Brad, Karen suddenly turned serious. If it had gone further, I wouldn't have objected. Last night, I realized that I'm not indifferent to you. And it's not just because you're an attractive man, although that too. My jaw dropped. No way. My mother-in-law, the mother of my ex-wife, just confessed to having feelings for me? This is surreal. Things like that don't happen. Or do they? Karen, I don't know what to say. This is so unexpected. I know, just think about it, okay? And come over for dinner tonight. I promise no advances and no awkward moments. I just enjoy your company. Okay, I managed to say. See you tonight. See you tonight, Brad, Karen replied warmly and hung up. I sat on the bed for a long time, staring blankly ahead. It seems my life has just gotten even weirder than it was. But damn me if I didn't want to know where this weirdness would lead. The next few weeks were like a roller coaster. Karen and I saw each other almost every day, chatting, laughing, flirting, but nothing was happening. As if an invisible barrier had arisen between us after that morning conversation, a barrier that no one dared to cross first. This situation infuriated me on one hand and excited me on the other. I found myself constantly thinking about Karen, remembering her mischievous smile, the dimples on her cheeks, how beautifully her figure was hugged by her house dress when she cooked us dinner. Damn, I'm a hopeless pervert. I need to cut it out. But easier said than done, especially when the object of your desire is asking for more. Yes, Karen turned out to be quite a piece of work. Her ambiguous hints, accidental touches, playing eye tag. I was going crazy with unsatisfied desire, and one day I finally snapped. We were sitting at her house, sipping wine and discussing some art house movie that Karen had dragged from the rental place. At one point, she leaned over to put her glass on the coffee table, and her breasts softly brushed against my shoulder. And I had to blurt out, "You have beautiful breasts. I mean, the dress. I mean, this cut suits you." Bravissimo, Brad, you idiot. But Karen just laughed softly and looked at me playfully. "Thank you, Brad. I'm glad you noticed. And not just the dress, I see." She winked meaningfully. And then my brakes finally failed. Obeying some animal impulse, I pulled her to me and devoured her lips in a hungry kiss. Karen gasped softly, but immediately responded. It was so strange and so exciting to be kissing my ex-wife's mother, to feel her soft lips, to inhale her scent, to run my hands over her body. Karen and I fell onto the couch, not breaking our mad tussle. At that moment, The whole world narrowed down to the sensation of bare skin, passionate kisses, and sweet languor. I covered Karen with kisses, savoring every inch of her body. What happened next was lost in a haze of passion and lust. We made love like possessed, forgetting about everything in the world, and it was the best thing that had happened to me in a long time, maybe in my whole life. Then we lay on the carpet, wet and exhausted. Karen rested her head on my shoulder and lazily traced patterns on my chest. I ran my fingers through her hair and stupidly smiled at the ceiling. Wow, no, really, wow. Brad, Karen suddenly called softly. I turned to her and met her serious gaze. I know this is crazy. We shouldn't. You're my daughter's ex-husband after all, but... My heart skipped a beat. Now she's going to say it was all a mistake. And she'll be right, damn it. But I want to continue, Karen blurted out and smiled sheepishly. I haven't felt this alive in a long time, Brad. This desired. I know it looks terrible from the outside, but who cares? I want to be with you. My jaw dropped. What a twist. My ex-mother-in-law, it turns out, is a damn hot and determined woman, and she wants me. Hell, how can you resist that? Oh, Karen, was all I could breathe out, pulling her in for a new kiss. After that, our conversation lost all coherence, switching to the language of movements and ragged breathing. We did it again right there on the living room floor, and then again in the bedroom, and in the shower. By morning, I couldn't feel my ass or my conscience. It was too good to think about the consequences. And the consequences, as usual, were not long in coming. My affair with Karen lasted about a month. The craziest, most passionate, adrenaline-filled month of my life. We met almost every day, made love like teenagers, talked about everything under the sun. It was like some surreal dream where everything was turned upside down. But I didn't care. I was happy. However, reality still made itself known. We tried to be careful, hiding our relationship from the neighbors, from mutual acquaintances. We didn't even tell Joanna, although I was itching to call her and tell her, "Hi, honey. You know, I'm dating your mom now. How's that for a twist, huh?" But I understood that it was low and fraught with consequences, so we lived in our little paradise for two, until I met her. Maggie. It happened at the supermarket. I was standing in line, grimly examining the contents of my cart, condoms, lube, a bottle of wine, and takeout dinner, when someone lightly tapped me on the shoulder. Turning around, I saw a cute girl with fiery red curls and cheerful green eyes. "Excuse me, but you dropped this," she smiled, holding out a pack of condoms to me. Damn, must have fallen out of the cart when I was getting my wallet. "Oh, thanks," I mumbled in embarrassment, feeling my face flush. "That's awkward." "No biggie," the girl waved it off. "It happens to everyone, although usually before dropping them, I at least say hello." She winked mischievously. I couldn't help but laugh. Wow, what a funny person. I'll keep that in mind for the future. Well, let's get acquainted, shall we? My name is Brad. Maggie, the girl held out her hand. Nice to meet you, Brad, despite such specific circumstances. We got to talking. It turned out that Maggie works as a programmer, loves old comedies and Mexican cuisine, and she also has an amazing sense of humor and an infectious laugh. I didn't even notice how I ended up hanging out with her in the supermarket for almost an hour, just chatting about everything under the sun, goofing around and laughing like crazy. That hadn't happened to me in a long time. That evening, I came home with a firm intention to break up with Karen. She was upset, of course, even cried a bit, but said she understood, that our relationship couldn't go on forever anyway, and that she wishes me happiness. And then we made love for the last time. Gently, tenderly, almost chastely. It was a goodbye. The next day, I called Maggie and asked her out. That's how our relationship began. Light, fun, full of joy and laughter. No hysterics, no guilt, no baggage from the past. With Maggie, I felt young and carefree. Happy. 6 months passed. Maggie and I fell head over heels in love with each other and decided to move in together. I was finally able to let go of the past and move on. The pain of Joanna's betrayal dulled, and the crazy affair with Karen seemed like a distant dream, although we continued to communicate, surprisingly warmly and amicably. No awkwardness. One day I invited Karen over for dinner. I wanted to introduce her to Maggie. After all, she was an important part of my life, and Maggie had been asking me to arrange this meeting for a long time. I was terribly nervous, but it went like clockwork. The girls immediately hit it off, and within half an hour were chatting and laughing like old friends. I sat there, grinning stupidly and marveling at how well everything had turned out. I guess happy endings do happen. After dinner, we went out on the balcony to smoke. Karen looked pensive and a little sad. Taking a drag, she said quietly, "I'm happy for you, Brad. Maggie is a wonderful girl, so lively, cheerful. You just glow with her." "Yeah, she's amazing," I smiled. "You know, Karen, I'm very grateful to you. For everything. For the support. Well, you know. If it weren't for you, I'd probably still be moping and feeling sorry for myself." Karen laughed softly. Mischievous sparks danced in her eyes. "Oh, believe me, Brad, it was a purely selfish support. It's a sin not to take advantage of such a gorgeous man, even if he's your ex-son-in-law." We both burst out laughing. Then Karen turned serious and, looking into my eyes, said quietly, "But to be honest, I don't regret anything, Brad. It was crazy, but damn it, it was so good. I'll never forget it." "Me neither," I replied just as seriously. "You're an amazing woman, Karen. I hope you find your happiness. You deserve it." "I hope so." She sighed and lowered her eyes. For a second there was silence, and then Karen shook her head, chasing away the sadness, and smiled slyly. "Okay, we're getting too sentimental here. Let's go back before your beloved suspects something. I know you men. Give you an inch and you'll be in our pants right away." We laughed again and returned to Maggie, instantly switching to a light, friendly tone. No awkwardness, no ambiguity. Just two good friends and former lovers who have been through too much together to be embarrassed by shared secrets. When we said goodbye, Karen hugged me tightly, kissed me on the cheek, and winking goodbye, fluttered off into the night. Maggie and I went to bed, to wake up in each other's arms in the morning and start a new day, a new life, in which there will no longer be a place for betrayal, loneliness, and prohibitions. Only love, laughter, and a little bit of craziness. How could we do without it? Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.